Hey, everyone. Thank you for this morning to the 8th Annual Bentonville Film Festival. We are so excited to be here with this conversation, and I just wanted to also let everybody know that there is a team from HGTV shooting today, so I just wanted you all to be aware of that before we kick things off. And we will be watching just a piece of content here, and go ahead and channel. Thank you.
It still doesn't feel real, but here we are. This collection really is created based on things that we love, that Dave's hand-built. Being able to share that with other people around the country is just a dream.
When the opportunity came about with Walmart, it was like the perfect fit to us. They've done so much for our community. It's like an integral part of Northwest Arkansas. And it's valid, right? And that's what we really wanted in this outdoor collection to be. We wanted it to be affordable.
Beauty should be accessible. Everyone should be able to make their home beautiful. We want people to be able to use these items and love them and create memories with them.
I'm so excited that we get to be a part of it. We get to be a part of someone else's story. And because it's at Walmart, because it's such a good value, there's going to be a lot of stories.
Thank you so much. I forgot to tell you all who I am. I think I'm the president of the Film Festival, and I'd love to introduce you to our fearless leader.
Wendy. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. This is great. I am very happy to be introducing the first event of the 8th Annual Bentonville Film Festival. Yay! This is going to be Real Magic Mornings, which is presented by Coca-Cola. And it's my honor to introduce to you Dave and Jenny Mars, who are the stars of From Picture to Fabulous. So let's bring them onto the stage. Thank you.
Good morning. Everybody have coffee? We've had coffee backstage. This is going to be exciting because I'm going to get to ask you questions you don't know what I'm going to ask.
Yeah, we have no idea.
Well, we're in a wonderful, beautiful school, so I want to begin with, school is where you find out, hopefully, what you kind of want to do with the rest of your life. So I'm curious how design found you or you found it, same with carpentry, and then how it all meshed together to be in our living rooms every week.
That's a long story.
Well, that is a long story. You guys got about 45 minutes. Good morning. So really carpentry started in my house. Growing up, my dad we built log homes in Colorado. And so I actually just, built with him until I decided I didn't want to do what my dad did. And so I went to college and got a job here in Northwest Arkansas. And I did that for a couple years. And then I really realized that I did want to actually do what I grew up doing. And, Jenny and I met along the way in corporate America. And she took the plunge, moving from Florida to Northwest Arkansas. I think there's a lot of these similar stories. We were actually just talking to Gina about this a little bit ago, how, you come to Northwest Arkansas and you're like, I'm just going to go for a couple years and then we'll move back to our other place. And that was 19 years ago? 18 years?
I don't know.
Long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for design?
Yes. So I actually went to school for advertising and public relations. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so it seemed like a good one. But I always had just kind of a creative side, and I loved photography, and I loved writing, and so I didn't actually go to school for design at all. I went into, and then after I graduated, we both got a job with the same company here, a supplier, and I just went into sales, and I was like, and I was so unfulfilled by it. I mean, I liked the company, and I liked the work, and I liked my teammates, but I didn't really like sales, and so I kept my job. I was, so sacrificial.
Sugar mama.
Even though I wasn't, because Dave started the business, the construction business, and so we had no money. I mean, we shared the Red Dragon, this horrible red truck that didn't actually run half the time, and so Dave would go to work, or I would go to work, drop you off. Anyway, so we were just totally broke, and so I had a real paycheck, so that we had insurance, and then I could sign for loans when Dave would start a new house. And so I just would help him,
I think we're ready for the next question.
I know. No, it was good. We just were, figuring it out. So we were starting a new business, but I was still working. Anyway, long story that's not short. I'm not going to say long story short because it's not short. But eventually I quit my corporate job and then joined Dave full time. But
I think she did it out of necessity. Those first 15, 20 houses I built, I'm sorry, people, because
someone actually
there were some colors that, and some styles that, really, you're building a log house, you don't have to do anything, right? You just put the logs up. And so you don't have to have a style. And thankfully, my beautiful wife signed my loans and helped with my style. So it was perfect.
Yeah, we just met someone the other day who was like, I think we bought one of your houses in Bella Vista. I think it's like one of the first ones you built. And I was like, oh gosh.
No.
I was like,
no,
I wasn't involved. I wasn't involved.
That color in the kitchen? Not me.
Not my fault.
Well,
Those lights were on sale. That's why you bought them.
you mentioned that you didn't go to school for design, but did you always have a designer thought process?
I actually think honestly, because Dave, he was building, and we built our own house, our first house, and then we moved, 5 times in a handful of years. And so every time we moved, I would work on our house, and then we would have kind of side projects of our own renovating. And so I just kind of learned from doing it and what worked for us. And every time, like anyone, when you move into your house, like, oh, wait, I wish I would have done this differently. And so then we would renovate another house and do it that way. And then just kind of learning really through trial, so yeah. And then also, when Dave had
Trial
no
and
idea.
necessity. I mean, they're great engines
Like,
for
Jenny,
creativity.
what do you think about this light? And I'm like, no, that's terrible, actually.
They say for young couples to see if you're going to make it, go on a road trip because you'll find out about each other. Renovating a house together, that's probably where you find out if you're going to make it. I mean,
Oh, yeah. We did all the time. And we used to do all the work. I mean, we do, we do the work, but like literally, Dave, you would build every single thing in the house. We did it, to save money.
Well, and we're very similar personality types.
Yeah.
So building is perfect for us because every 6 or 7 months, even within these projects, you get to start over and you get to dream again. And you get to create okay, this is what I did last time that was great, and then this is something that didn't work, so we're gonna do it better this time. And it's for us such a creative outlet, and so we both, by the end of the project, we're kind of actually starting to dream about the next project and to, to just fix our errors along the way. And so it's very fortunate that we are that, same personality type, because now with the show, our schedule is set for us from about February to November, and you just have to get creative because it's so much with the filming, 12 hours a day, and then the crews, and then still trying to get stuff done. And at first, when we first started the show, it was kind of a job, and we had to get back to okay, how do we get creative with certain things? And so we've been able to do it, and we don't know how sometimes. We don't. At the end of the day, there's no smiles left. We're just. I always say, people literally, if they see Jenny and I coming home from a shoot site, they must look in the car and be like, man, those two people hate each other. Because there's just nothing left. You're just drained. And so
I have no more words.
But luckily, we're excited about it the next day, and then we get to start new projects. So it works for us.
You have so many different constituencies when you're working on this. You've got the homeowner, right? You're with their possession, their home. You have the viewers you have to think about. You have the film professionals that are trying to get the right shot and tell the narrative. You have your family to think about, and then your neighbors, because this is a show in Bentonville that talks about Bentonville, and you're portraying Bentonville. How do you put those all together and make sure all parties are happy?
We have no
Way
idea.
way to stress me out, Kyle. That was very stressful. Wow. That's true. Yes. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. It's very stressful. Actually, I mean, our crew is amazing. Like look at Jerome over here. He's just, literally gets into a bathtub if he needs to get the shot. They do, they make it happen. Like, they're just incredible. So thankfully, they're experts at what they do. So they tell us, hey, wait, we got to redo that. I need to back up, or you're in the way, or the light's wrong, or whatever. So we just rely on them for that piece. The homeowners, we do have a lot of conversations off camera that you don't see before we even start the project. So we're in conversation with them ahead of time. And so we have a really good idea of what they do like and what they don't like. And then they get kind of a general idea of what we're going to do, but we really do surprise them. That is real. Like, they do not see the house. They don't get to come and check on it. We do take some risks that we really legitimately don't know if they'll like. But thankfully, everybody has. And then who are the other? Oh, our community. I mean, we do love highlighting this community. That is something that we really love about the show, is that we get to talk about this amazing place that we live. That was one of the reasons we said yes to doing it in the first place, was because of how amazing this area is, and that we get to highlight it. We get to highlight all of the artisans that live here that we get to work with all the time. So that is amazing. And then our kids, that's the hardest thing, is the schedule with all of our kids. And now that they're getting older, their schedules are a whole full-time. I mean, everybody who's a parent knows it's like a full-time job just keeping up with all of them. So I think that's probably the hardest piece, but our production company is amazing to help balance. If we have something for the kids, that's on the schedule. It's non-negotiable. Like, the kids come first. So we're grateful for that.
Yep.
I love that you mentioned Bentonville, or you've got to drive to Rogers, because you can watch some shows where it's kind of anonymous. They don't want to tell you that it's, I don't know, Vancouver or Nashville, but you are all in on Northwest Arkansas. Have you heard at all that maybe someone's watching half a continent away and their perception of Northwest Arkansas has changed because of the television show?
Yeah, so this past weekend we had our annual Berry Fest, which is so important to us for a nonprofit that Jenny and I love. And the people that came, we had a couple that came from Brazil, watched our show in Brazil, and they came and they wanted to be at Berry Fest. We had Oregon, Idaho, California, and I think people are descending upon Northwest Arkansas, and for so many reasons. And one of those reasons, though, is I think our production company, they do such a great job of highlighting what an amazing area we're in. And right now it's miserable being outside, but for the most part, we have really good seasons, and we have, beautiful green, lush, landscape to shoot. I grew up in Colorado, and Colorado's beautiful, but it's a high plains desert. We don't get any rain. We get, and so you come here where everything is lush and green and beautiful, and you can grow anything, and the people are amazing. They take time out of their schedule to help you, to talk to you. It's just that southern hospitality, but we're also such a wonderful melting pot because of all of these companies that, work with Walmart and have to be here. And so we hear this story all the time of people that hated it being transferred in here, and now they're forever residents of Northwest Arkansas. So it's a pretty easy story for us to tell because, it's amazing.
Yeah, we're so proud of this community. And we've had so many people that tell us, they got transferred with work, and so they knew they were moving here, and they watched our show to get a sense of the area, and it really helped them prepare to move here. So that's, really cool. And people that live here and families live out of state, and they say, oh, my family watches this show because they get to see where I live, and we love that. We love to highlight all of the area.
You mentioned Berry Fest. That's part of the Berry Farm, which is, believe it or not, it's hard if you watch the show to think that there's any time for you to do anything besides parent and knock out walls. But this is kind of a driving force in your life. How did the Berry Farm come about, and what greater good does that contribute to?
So I'll let you talk about how it came about because you're really good with that. But I think that's like, it is such a driving force for our family, our kids. I mean, when we planted the blueberries, Charlotte, our 8-year-old, was on Jenny's back, and we were was just an infant. And so our kids have grown up just knowing that the huge importance to our family is just doing good for others and helping others any way we can. And so that was like one of our biggest reasons for saying yes to this show. We said no several times, and then we actually had Adam's his name. He works for our production company, grew up in Rogers, and he just said, guys, I think you need to just go home and pray about it and talk about, is there a reason why you would do this? And so basically he said, do this pilot. It may never make it. Odds are it won't make it past the pilot. But if you just get that one moment where you can talk about your nonprofit and talk about the Berry Farm and highlight what a great area we're in, was it worth it? And so that was the hook. That was the thing that got us to say yes. And when times are tough, like Jenny and I, she'll send me a text, or we'll talk to each other and just say, hey, remember our why. What's our why in this? Why are we doing this? And it's because of this area. It's because of the Berry Farm. And so you got to tell about how it all became about, but she's amazing at this.
No, that was
You
pressure.
are. I put a lot of pressure
I
on
know,
you. Do
wow.
it well.
Oh, gosh. Okay, I'll try.
Here's the thing. I usually talk about it, and then Jenny's like, no, it's not that way. No, it's not that way. So I'm just
It's true.
passing it off to my lovely wife.
Well, and this is a long story. I'm going to try to make short. But essentially, our farm, Dave actually bought the property without telling me, which that happens a lot. And
It was a deal. It was a deal.
he got a deal on it. That's what he always says. So anyway, and Dave actually had the idea to start a blueberry farm. At the time, we had a nonprofit that we were feeding 200 kids in the Congo, which is where our daughter was born, where she's from. And we started feeding the kids in her orphanage, and then the program grew. And so every month we were raising money to feed the kids. And we had a concert series, which is now City Sessions, and it's still here and happening around town, raising money for our feeding program. And Dave had the idea to plant this blueberry farm because we really wanted something where we weren't just asking people for money and they were getting nothing in return. So we wanted it to be a place where people could come and pick berries with their family, and then the proceeds could go to our feeding program. And that was the plan. And then we ended up, so we planted the berries. Well, that's a whole long thing. He went to the U of A. We were not farmers. So he learned how to farm, installed irrigation, all of it. And it took 3 years for the berries to actually be at a point where to pick, because they take that long till you're ready to eat them. And in those 3 years, we ended up partnering with another nonprofit in the Congo, and all of our kids ended up getting into their program and becoming sponsored. And so we really didn't have a need for our feeding program because it was now covered. So then we had all these berries ready to pick, and we were like, oh my gosh, now what are we going to do with this money? And at that same time, we were in South Africa and Zimbabwe as a family, and we were visiting the nonprofit that we now are partnered with, some of the work they do there. And we were with, their names are Pastor John and Orpa, and they are in Zimbabwe, and we were at their dinner table, and he was saying how his dream was to buy this. We were just talking about dreams and, that sort of thing, and he said his dream, and he has, by the way, to preface it, Pastor John and Orpa are the most incredible human beings. Literally, we say they have halos. They're incredible, but they're just so exuberant and kind, and they literally live their lives just selflessly, and they take care of the orphan kiddos in their community. And he said his dream was for the teens in his community to have a place to go and learn a trade, because a lot of the kids have come in from homelessness and they're orphaned, and they get plugged into public school there, which is not anything like public school here, and they're really not well equipped for the future at that point. And so he was saying how he had this property that he wanted to buy and create this agricultural training program for these teens. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was in January. He's like, well, our first U-Pick is this summer. What if we funded your training program, your farm training program with our farm? And it just all worked out. So we had our first U-Pick that summer, and it really has gone from there. The training program now has been in place for, 5 years, I think. We built dorms on properties, so the kids live there. They learn how to farm. They have fruit. They have livestock. They have welding. There's all sorts of. It's just basically like a trade school now that has been developed, and we fund every year with our U-Pick farm.
Yeah, so it's just that bridge for those kids that don't have a family or a community to fall back on, to just basically, if nothing else, they can take care of themselves and their family, but hopefully they become some of the community changers, and we try to break that cycle.
Yeah.
I love seeing your children on the episodes, and they ground you. Because you'll say, hey, look at this great pantry that we've made behind these cabinets, and you would not believe what we have to do. It's like, I want to go to the dumpster.
Yeah.
I want to play out there. Have any of your children shown signs that they want to build, that they want to construct, design?
They go through phases. So when we always said with the show that our children will be a part of the show when it's on their terms. They didn't sign up for this show, we did. So if they want to be, in the shot and a part of it, they can. And if they don't, they won't. And so I think season 1 and 2, you saw a lot more of the boys, where now you don't. And now it's Sylvie and Charlotte out in the shop with me building, which I love. And it's, Luke, our little one, who's just a maniac, he's all over the place. And so I think they're around the trade all the time. So I hope they find what they love. And if that's building, then I'll do whatever I can to support them.
Yeah. Ben, one of the twins, our oldest, he wants to be an architect. And I think that obviously has come from this work, And then Shar says she wants, she loves design and she loves picking paint colors and that sort of thing, but she also wants to own a zoo and be a veterinarian and a hairstylist. So it's really hit or miss there. I'm not sure.
They're going a lot of different ways right now,
and
which is okay.
And Sylvie loves to bake, which is what my family owned a bakery growing up. So it's really cool to see that in her. And then, Luke. And Nate is just, he's 12, so he's into video games. That's about it right now. And Luke,
no one gave us
maniac.
that warning that when our kids went from like 10 to 11 to 12, our little boys, that they would just be little nightmares.
No,
and so
they can be turds, but they're
They
usually
can.
pretty good.
So
Depends.
I get the feeling the two of you never run out of ideas, be it with a renovation, be it with how to have a nonprofit. Do you have more ideas than time?
Yes, this one. Dave has a lot of ideas. I have ideas too, but I also have realistic expectations on those ideas. Dave doesn't. We're actually in the process of that now. Look, Jeff's looking at me because we're in the middle of something. I don't think I can talk about it, but I'm like, Dave, we don't have time for this. Like, legitimately, we can't do this, and we'll figure it out. That's what Dave always says. So I guess we will.
we'll figure it out. Yeah, but
Kaylee
I will
knows.
say we are now in season 4, and these people right here put pressure on me to come up with 4 or 5 creative hidden projects for every house, and I'm running out of ideas. So if you got anything, throw them out. I would appreciate it.
Wait, 4 or 5 creative ideas per house?
Right. So what our production, so what we were told when we started this HGTV show is season 1, people care about the houses. They care about the projects. But then you go into season 2, 3, 4. We're in 4 now. It really starts to transition where they're more invested in the family, and then those water cooler moments, right? So we have one where like a countertop slides out of the way and you can go down into a basement, or like those things that get talked about. So because really, if you renovate 16 houses a year, I mean, they make us do the kitchen, the exterior, like you're going to get different colors, you're going to get, different styles, but it gets, I mean, let's be honest, it gets kind of boring. So you got to figure out like, what are those water cooler moments that, that people can talk about.
But you still want it to be somewhat organic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we're always trying to figure out like, and a lot of times you don't know until you get in the house. And it's, it's talking with the homeowners, like, what is it you love? Like, what's something that is just way up in the clouds that if you could do, you would do? And so we've tried about everything. So
Yeah, but it usually does it. Like when we're in the house and we're working, that's when a lot of the ideas happen and things change. Like the plan changes from the start to the finish 90% of the time, I would say. Yeah.
Is there something, I once interviewed set designers for theaters, and I asked them, is there something that when a director says and you just go, oh no, and they said, if someone wants a car on stage, is there something in renovation or design when the homeowner says, I would like this, or I'm wondering about this, and you might keep the smile on your face, but inside you're going, oh no.
she's trying to decide what she can talk about now.
So should I
just
tell
saw
them
that
about our
look.
spin-off show?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
okay.
we have a spin-off idea that we've pitched to the network. They haven't bought it yet, but it could be. We think it could be huge. So the show actually is we walk in, we go with the homeowners, and they say, oh, I bought this house, and it's say it's a craftsman house, and they say, I would love this to be, just this old Victorian. And then we look at them and we say, you bought the wrong house. And then we leave, and that's the whole show.
Oh my.
We're having a hard time getting past like 4 or 5
nobody
minutes for
thinks
this
it's
show.
a good
though,
idea.
so
We think it's funny. But no, there are times when we really love like trying to preserve the integrity of a house. So it's really hard when somebody wants to just completely tear up like an old home and or tear it down. It kills us. But in reality, I think right now, actually, the biggest thing that is told to us is just all based on like timing of materials. Because right now it's just hard to get things. So if somebody says they need new windows, we immediately are like, oh no, because we can't get them in time. You know what I mean? Or like a roof or that kind of thing. And everything's just crazy expensive right now too. So that's actually in reality like the hardest thing right now for the past few years, of course, has been sourcing product, and then the cost. Everything has gone up like astronomically. I think our first season we did renovation, we did one for like $50,000, and now we couldn't. I mean, you can't do anything because you
it's
can't
just
buy
gotten
anything.
expensive. If you touch a kitchen where you're taking out cabinets, doing paint, flooring, you're $50,000 just in the kitchen. And then it's just everything is so much more expensive than it was.
Yeah. So that's the biggest challenge right now.
But there's nothing like, oh, we've got to work on the subfloor or anything. Is there a task that for you go, I'd just rather not have to deal with this?
No, I mean, we can, we always say it's like houses, like they're literally just sticks and bricks. So, I mean, anything can be changed. And, I think Jenny probably does a little bit more cringing on maybe people's styles or what they want. Because, well, I think I can say this. I mean, so at the end of the day, we're not living in the home, right? So we have to, we have to take in what these homeowners want. And I mean, if that's a really ugly color, then sometimes we just have to bear it.
No,
right?
we don't. We just talk them through to a nicer color.
And then make them think it's their idea?
Yes.
Right,
No,
right.
Yeah. But it is. I mean, it is their house, so we want them to be happy, and it needs to look like their house, not our house. So that is, yeah. I don't cringe though. I mean, maybe sometimes.
She does.
No, I don't.
Well, that's what I love. It's because
Inwardly. Go ahead.
because it is sticks and bricks. It is plumbing and porcelain and wood, but it's also where people live and have their
Exactly.
children and grow up. So the responsibility there,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that is something that you think about internally, but you also talk about with yourselves. Like, we're part of their story, not just for this week or this episode, but maybe for decades.
And what an amazing thing to be a
Right.
part of, right? Like we get to, I think it's really great for us, this show, because we get a moment in time every day with where our kids are and what was going on in our life. And like through every one of these episodes, but the homeowners do as well. Like they get, I mean, everyone that's had a house built here or bought a house, you didn't know like what went on all the way through that process unless you were an integral part of it. And even though these people leave, like they get that video afterwards of like, hey, here's some of the challenges that we came through, that we found in this house. And here's the story of what's important to this family and how we made this house into a home and how we, you know, we included their family stories and what their family cares about. And they get that forever. And so I think, there's the show is, it's a time crunch and it's crazy schedules, but it's also like these beautiful moments where we get to give this home back to people and we get to tell them like, hey, we know you cared about this, so this is what we did. And those are special moments. And so, we get to be a part of that 16 times a year, and it's pretty cool.
And that's the thing that we like, that we get the most excited about. You asked about, what do you get, or, how do you keep creative and that sort of thing. I think for us, it's talking to the homeowners and really learning their story. And we've had so many incredible stories that we've been a part of. And so when we get those stories, we really do spend so much time trying to think of how can we make sure to honor whatever that story is in their home, because it is. I mean, it is their biggest investment. It is the place where their family is going to spend and make memories, and we want to be really intentional with the story and with all of the spaces, because a kitchen is a kitchen, and it could be a beautiful kitchen, but if it doesn't have heart in it, then it's not, it doesn't matter. So for us, I think that has always been the most important thing, and the thing that we've been excited to be able to do is tell these family stories through the show. And I think that's what makes our show a little bit more unique, is that it's not just the renovation, it's also how can we incorporate their story and create a home instead of just a really pretty house that's nice for pictures.
What's more exciting? Working with an existing home that might have decades of history, or a blank slate house where you get to do whatever you want to do?
History.
Decades of history.
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
To like some of the stories, like they you can just see, I mean, the way that these homes were built, the craftsmen and I'm a builder. I build new construction. We don't build homes like they used to. I'm sorry. We just don't. Like they're like the way that these homes were put together, and the work and the heart and the time that went into them. I love that story, and I love being able to bring back that story. So the blank slates are nice because you can just go in and do whatever you want, but it's a lot more fun working with history.
There's no character either. There's so much character already built into an old home, and there's a lot of problems, and there's always a lot of more problems, but it's definitely more fun. Yeah.
You like to be problem solvers.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
All right, I've got to ask just some questions about how it's made. You mentioned 16 houses a year, so I guess you're multitasking? We see the episodes are one house, but are you bouncing around to different sites per day?
Yeah, you're allowed to tell the behind the scenes. Look at Jeff.
Jeff's trying to think our schedule today, where we're going.
Our schedule's insane. So we actually do typically 4 at a time, but they sometimes roll over to where we have 6 at a time sometimes happening. And then we usually, the way a typical day works is Dave gets to wear the same thing all the time. He wears a black shirt and a hat.
I dressed up today, though.
So he changes his hat, but we'll go to one house, pop in, do everything we need to do, and then I'll change. We'll go to the next house, do everything we need to do. I'll change. We'll go to the next house. So we just kind of make it look like different days. Top secret. Sure. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but we really are just checking it and just running from house to house constantly. And then we typically try to start them at the same time and end them at the same time. So we'll have a reveal a day every day, 1 week. Yeah. Yeah,
it's the same with when I'm in tomorrow, I'll be at my shop, and so we've got 5 houses going, and there's 15 projects that I'll start and I'll do, and so we'll start a project, and then I'll clean up all that wood, all that kind of stuff. I'll start another one. And so the show, all of our crew they're not local. We have local guys that work here, but for the most part, they're all based out of Knoxville. And so, what's that?
Well, all over, but yeah.
And all over. But they, they'll come in for a week to 10 days, and then they'll leave for a week, and then come for a week to 10 days, and then leave for a week. And so, the filming, the bouncing around, the checking in, the stuff that y'all see on the show, that is, during those weeks. The actual work that happens, or a lot of it, is when the camera guys go home, because they have a job to do as well. Like, they've got a show to produce. Lori, our executive, said that for every 43-minute show that is produced, it's about 120 hours of footage that they have to cut down to that 43-minute show. So,
But on the off week, Sam, who's here locally, will bounce around. So we'll have him just kind of shooting like B-roll of what's happening, the progress, but we're not doing all the scenes. It's not, I don't have to do my hair that week. It's so great. Oh, it's wonderful.
Well, we're at a film festival where a lot of the attendees are aspiring filmmakers, and they are thinking, mechanically how this is made. I've got to ask then about continuity. Is there someone on your crew that is only about continuity, so it never takes us out of that episode, those of us who are watching?
Yeah, there's a whole lot. Yeah, I mean, our showrunner, and then there's also a AP who are really managing that. And then back when in post, they, if something is not right, we actually had to do a pickup this week because I was wearing the wrong shirt on one of the interviews. So we had to go back and put that shirt back on and redo it. So we're constantly, they're always making sure, my hair, if we do, because we typically do like our walkthroughs with the homeowners, and then we'll film the scene, the morning scene, we call it, before later, like with the kids or whatever. So I'll have to put my outfit back on, and like if my hair's done differently, then I have to make sure it's done the same way, and all that.
Yeah, and you'll see like on the shows, like I would do this normally, I have like a different hat for each episode. So I get up in the morning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to this house, better wear this hat. But that's the way they
can keep track.
They can keep track of
where he is. Yeah.
All right, I've got 3 silly questions about what you do. Number 1, it looks so fun to take a sledgehammer and go through sheetrock. Is it as fun as it looks?
Jenny would say no.
No.
I would
always
say
get hurt.
Absolutely.
I always pull I pull a muscle every time, and I end up with an Advil and a heating pad.
I'm literally, my 10-year-old self is
He loves it.
like coming back, where I just imagine every time it's like my mom saying, "Hey babe, go there and smash through that wall." No, she didn't, but everyone wishes.
But your mom wouldn't say, "Hey babe."
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Said Dave. I don't know. Maybe I'm wishing you would say that. I don't know.
Go terrible wall. I would say that.
Silly question number 2, do you have a favorite color?
Favorite color? I would say green. Green and pink, yeah.
Are you going to ask me?
Yeah, do you have a favorite color?
Oh, black. It's very slimming.
He's talking about in a house, I think.
Oh, I don't care.
Right. He doesn't. He really doesn't care. He does not care. I always try to ask his opinion, and he truly doesn't care.
Just
No, like they. My dad always used to say there's an ass for every seat. So if you like a certain color, go for it. Then the thing about color, I mean, color can be changed so easily. So I don't really care about color.
Well, that leads me to my silly question number 3. When you have cameras around you, and you've got hammers, and you've got saws, and I'm sure you're up to date on your tetanus shot, is there...
My doctor has come to give me a tetanus shot at a house before because I stepped on a nail. So I am up to date, actually.
So do you have to sometimes just self-censor? Because we all know when we drop a plate or hit our thumb with a hammer that...
100%. That's another idea that we have. There really should, it should be 17 episodes. There should be either a full hour episode of all the mistakes we make, because we make a ton of them, or there should be, at the end of every show, they should end like, even if it's the credits, like do the bloopers. And because like that's what, I mean, Jenny and I, when we did this show, we always wanted it to be authentic. We always wanted authenticity of, hey, we are a family, we have issues, we work through them as a family. In construction, there's always things you never accounted for, and you problem solve and you work around it. And I mean, I want to show that. Like season 1, like one of the most talked about moments of our first season, I was building some shutters and I literally nailed the shutters to the table because I had the wrong size nails. And our production company had to fight with the network to get that in, because the network used to be like, no, like we want to show these builders like everything's good, everything's great, they do it all right, but that's not reality. Like, reality is we make mistakes, we laugh about it, and then we move on.
Yeah, that's what I loved about that scene, because you were both there, and it wasn't a tantrum. I mean, you realized that, okay, this means...
It was about 4 hours of extra work I had to do after that, but that's okay.
But you did meet the moment, at least on television, you met the moment with grace and humility and this sort of, okay, now we've got something else to do. I don't know what happened in those 3 hours and 58 minutes that we didn't see.
Well, and that's, I mean, I think that's just life, right? I mean, and we've just gotten through a really tough time in our world and in our country, and we still have tough times, but like some of the greatest feedback about our show that we've gotten is, like families will come up to us and say, my kids and I, we don't watch any shows together other than yours. We can sit down and I can laugh at the adult humor. My kids can see some cool projects. They get to see your kids jumping into a dumpster. And I mean, what a great thing, right? To be able to, it's so humbling, and it's incredible when someone comes up and tells us like, hey, you're part of my family's story just at home in our living room.
Do you remember a first time when someone recognized you that you didn't know and you went, oh, we are on television all over the place?
I do remember our first season when we would always go to lunch, and one of our producers was like, "Oh, next season we're not going to be able to go to lunch," and I'm like, "What? Nobody even watches these shows." That's what I always said. I was like, "Nobody watches this. It's fine." And
I think you're wrong. But
yeah,
go ahead.
but I was like, "It's fine." But I don't know. I'm trying to think.
The most random time for me. So our show now has started to air.
Oh, yeah.
We're airing in 30 different countries now, and so we get. Really like Italy, Brazil, Germany. My voice is amazing in German. You guys should listen to it if you. The Brazilian me is kind of whiny, and Chase is like, no, like he's like the sexy, like, soap opera guy. I'm like, come on. I'm like, that should be me, but regardless. But we were in Italy, and some Italians came up to us, and they were like, oh la television, and they crowded around us and took a picture, and recognized us from our show in Italy. And so that to me was a moment where I was like, wow, it's amazing how broad this has become.
You've got this collaboration now with Better Home and Gardens and Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Things that you put together we can now have in our house without our walls being knocked down by a sledgehammer.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's something we've been working on with them for a long time, and people always ask, or I'll get emails like, can Dave build a porch swing and send it here? And it's really impossible to build that many. So being able to work, with Walmart and BH&G to create products that are based off of what he already built. I mean, we give them wood samples and all the specs and everything. And we have been involved in the process from, the design all the way through and improving, and every step of the way has been really amazing and surreal. Really.
Jenny gets a little crazy about it.
Yeah,
like
I
she's
do.
very
Twyla
particular about.
She's laughing because I am.
Colors
because I'm very
and styles.
detailed. I want it to be perfect, and if it's not, then we need to go back to the drawing board. Because I do. Our whole thing is we really want people to have accessibility to things that they want. If they want their home to be beautiful, they should be able to do that without spending a fortune. And so if we're, going to have a beautiful lamp, it's not going to be $800. That's ridiculous. Who buys an $800 lamp? I don't, and I don't expect anyone else to. But if you're going to buy, however much our lamp is, I don't know. But if you're going to buy our lamp, I want it to be a good quality, and if we're going to put our name on it, it needs to be up to our standards. So yes, Dave's just kind of like, he's just sort of like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, no, we got to fix that. That handle's in the wrong spot.
All right, finally, one of the favorite things about your show is when you say, oh, imagine if we did this, and we see the computer animation. It shows what happens. And so you have this design and this plan. And I'm wondering if there's a metaphor. If you went back to your 12-year-old selves, and you thought about designing the life that would come with Fixer to Fabulous and come with living in Bentonville and having your children, what would you have imagined that design being? And would you change anything of that design now?
So I would have never imagined that I would have a show that. What are you shaking your head? Jenny was on Mickey Mouse Club going every
I was in
week
the audience
to try to be in the show. She was a performer from.
No, I was sat in the audience. That's not the same thing, Dave. I grew up in Orlando, and my sister and I, my mom would drive us to Disney World or MGM, and we'd sit in the audience. But anyway, go ahead.
But in answer to your question, like, I think if I could go back and envision that, like, I know I wouldn't change a thing. I have a beautiful family. I never planned on 5, never wanted 5. When we found out, we were pregnant with the 5th, she threw the pregnancy test at me and said, I just wanted to go to sleep. And so, sorry. So that was not.
I did say this is your fault. I threw it out.
That was not our plan. It wasn't. But now that Luke is here, I can't imagine my life without Luke, right?
Exactly.
And so to have a successful building business and a blueberry farm that the community loves to come out to, and like literally I can call Kayleen at Visit Bentonville anytime, hey, I need help with this. Absolutely. That's our community. Like, and I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing of it. And like this show, it's a season of our life. Like, I mean, at some point, we're going to just go back to like being builders and living in this small community, and that's fine too. But it's a fun ride right now, so might as well enjoy it, right?
Yeah. Jenny?
Oh, I was like, I don't want to follow that. That was really good. Yeah, I would say everything is unexpected, like Dave said. I never thought I would live in Arkansas. Growing up, I wanted to move to New York and be a PR executive. That's what I wanted to do. And here, I didn't do that. And I'm here, and I never would have imagined living on a farm and having animals and 5 kids. And my mom always laughs about it, always, because she's like, that never would have ever imagined. But I couldn't imagine not being here now. Like, I just think we've tried to live like open-handed with everything and just follow whatever the path that God has for us. And I think it has just been windy and so much better than we could have ever planned for. Yeah.
We look forward to season 4 of Fixer to Fabulous.
Thank you.
Visit the Berry Farm.
Yeah.
It's open.
Well,
We'll probably do a couple more blueberry
Okay.
picks. The festival's not until next year
You
because
got
we can only do
51
that.
weeks to plan
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
exactly, yes.
And we look forward to season 1 of You Bought the Wrong Home.
Yes.
I
I'm
mean,
looking forward to that.
It's going to be a 5-minute episode. I mean, that's perfect. You can watch it anytime. You can binge watch an entire season in 30 minutes.
I doubt there will be a second season because
I
no
don't-
one will want to.
I don't know. Is it? Yeah, it'd be a spoiler. So we'll have to come up with a new theory. But I mean, it'd be fun, right? Like they come in, they think that this is going to be great, and then we're like, "You bought the wrong house, sorry," and we just leave.
Fade to black.
And
Right
we
there.
just leave.
Cut to black. Don't fade to black. Cut to black.
So I always end with, if it's okay, with just a shameless plug.
What are you doing?
If you guys like watch our show and you can't stand it, if you could do me a favor and just still leave your TV on, I get full credit for that. So I would appreciate it.
As
Thank
long
you.
as the TV's
that was
on.
it. That was it. That was quick, right?
Well, thank you for letting us into your lives once a week and for doing this. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.